So the monetary policy is a process whereby the monetary authority generally, that is on the central bank, tries to control and regulate the money supply of the economy. The impact of the monetary policy is a common factor for all the sectors that are available in the economy. Black money is something which is not really accredited, which is not acknowledged, or neither that is going to be considered something of a great value in the society. Good morning and welcome to the first session, Chapter 2, Unit 2, first semester B.Ca, Pre-Reforms of Indian Economy, where we are going to talk about instruments of monetary policy and black money. Probably this might not be a very favorable topic when we are speaking about the monetary policy or the black money in India. But nevertheless, you cannot run an economy without a monetary policy altogether. So the monetary policy is a process whereby the monetary authority generally, that is on the central bank, tries to control and regulate the money supply of the economy. Followed by the central bank uses several instruments of monetary policy, which is referred to as monetary variables, and its discretions at its regular intervals. So what happens here is that whenever we are talking about monetary policy, it is not just about money, but it is more about the regulation. It's more about how the money supply is being controlled in the economy. So this becomes a very, very important topic for all of us to understand today, how the money is circulated, how the money is governed, how is it controlled in the environment, and that too in a sensitive economy like India, where every single moment the money value changes and we are looking at the markets which moves in a very, very rapid pace. Now let's talk about what are the quantitative measures that are being taken up by RBI. Now the first thing is that when you look into the entire credit market in India, they all move in one direction, which means the impact of the monetary policy is a common factor for all the sectors that are available in the economy. So at one point of time, if you start understanding the economic policy, especially when you start looking into the monetary activities, there are some things like the open market operation, the bank rate or the discount rate, the cash reserve ratio. Now these words might sound technical to you, but in ground reality, they are very simple. These are the instruments through which the RBI will try to control the economic affairs altogether. Now people might think that, does the RBI get into regular banking action? Definitely not, but RBI regulates the bank. So there is a difference that we need to understand here. What does the RBI typically tend to do? RBI will go forward, give ideas and suggestions to people. It will make them understand how exactly the market works. So let's have a look into the open market, where what we try to do here is that we try to understand the buying and selling practice, followed by the cash reserve ratio. So coming here, when we talk about the credit control factors by quantitative methods, let me underline that point for you. Why? Because we work on selective control measures. Why are we speaking about quantitative? It's because there is some selective control which is needed to fulfill the purpose altogether. So we see that the rationing of credit, when I use that word rationing of credit, I'm trying to reduce the credit factor. I'm trying to bring in the control factors on the credit, directing the flow of credit from one sector to that of the most important sector. So what happens here is that I'm directing the flow of money to where exactly it is needed, followed by the availability of bank credit, which is what we are going to speak about. So there are certain factors that we need to understand, like credit rationing, the change in the lending margins, and the model suasion factors that are coming into picture. Now, what does RBI exactly do? RBI tries to understand that there are certain factors, there are certain sectors that are available which requires immediate attention from a financial standpoint. So RBI will direct the flow into that sector, which means RBI will control the money for the other sectors and let the sector that needs priority with a higher input of finance. So this would make the sector even more stronger. So that's where I would say that, the lending margins, the rationing, control of the entire financial activities happens here. Followed by, let's talk about the addition factor called as LAF. What we stand for that? Liquidity Adjustment Facility, which is very, very important. The repo rate and the reverse repo rate, which are used to control the money supply in the economy. Now, the liquidity adjustment facility is a very, very important topic. Why? Because you cannot allow the economy to float with excess money. At the same time, you cannot make the economy look completely dry, completely worn out at any given point of time. So what does the RBI do? The RBI tries to maintain the balance. RBI tries to maintain the cash flow, the necessary supply in the market so that everybody is able to get what exactly they want. And when we are talking about the repo rate and the reverse repo rate, these rates are very, very important for the banking sector so that at the end of the day, they are able to get what they want. Now, the RBI keeps changing these rates. Why? Because it depends on the bank transaction and the movement altogether. Now, what happens here is that the repo rate is the rate at which the commercial banks will borrow money from the RBI, and the reverse repo rate is something which is just the opposite. RBI will borrow money from the commercial bank. So there's a both way. It's a two-way connection that we are speaking about here. So what is very, very important in form of government securities, in form of the activities that we are talking about is RBI will bring in some control measures that will keep the economy on a free flow basis. Secondly, RBI will also talk about this in line and length. Why? Because whenever the money supply is going to be affected, whenever the money supply is going to come in different forms and format, RBI is going to look into the other factors. They're going to look into it in such a way how we can maintain the rates and how we can pull it forward altogether. Now, the next thing, black money. Black money is both economic and social problem. In the latter context, whenever we talk about this word, black money, people are excited because they think that black money is something that's going to give you an extra power and extra wings to float around in the economy. But that's not true. Why? Because black money is not something that is really digested by the society. Black money is something which is not really accredited, which is not acknowledged, or neither that is going to be considered something of a great value in the society. People feel that the rise in black money actually leads to a greater inequality, and that also spoils the economic system. Now, when we look into the black money concept, this is something which is considered to be a parallel economy, an underground economy, and an official economy, which is actually trying to govern, control by itself, and it has its own market. Now, do everybody get a chance to be a part of this underground economy, a part of this black economy, which is unknown? The answer is no. Why? Because this is a hidden economy. It's not available to the common man. But at the end of the day, the common man is affected because the money flow gets restricted, and there's a huge amount of pressure that comes onto the government because the black money accumulated people are not paying tax to the government. That affects the revenue part of the government. So the more and more black money acquisitions that starts happening in our economy, which means to say that these people are not going to pay the tax at any given point of time. And that is going to be a bad signal for the economy. So at one point of time, what we are seeing here is that this would have a damaging effect on the country's planning and efforts altogether. So what do we want to achieve in the future is that we want to see that the black money and the economy sensitivity issues are literally pulled down. We do not want this to be repeated again and again. We do not want this setup where the economy gets disturbed because of a section of people who do not pay their income tax regularly, who create a lot of blockade, who create a lot of barricades for other people. that the lesser the black money, when you flush out the black money, the excess money can be utilized for something that is useful. You will be able to help the poor and needy. You will be able to bridge the gap between the rich and poor. So that's exactly why we do not want the black money to continue to persist in this economy. Moving further, black money is a tax evaded income, as we were talking about. So it has both a legal and illegal means altogether. Now, did I mention the word legal? Of course, yes. Why? Because even when you are earning money through a legitimate source, but you try to avoid paying tax, that money gets converted into black money. So now what happens is that though I run a legitimate business, but I don't do the job of a citizen of paying tax regularly, automatically I fall into the black economy. Now that's exactly where about 80% of Indians are really into. They are trapped into that particular sector, I would say. There are many small-scale business in India, many small-scale industries, or probably, the shops and the ideas or the footpaths or the small shops that keep continue happening business in India. They fail to pay money because they don't recognize the income, and somewhere they just come out of the loop. So we are not able to catch them in terms of the tax factor. Now, for example, government doctors earning money by private practice, or when you talk about auditors, when you talk about lawyers, when you talk about architects who are self-styled professionals, they earn a lot of money in different ways, in different means altogether. But most of them don't declare this income openly. They think that this money is something that they have earned out of their privilege. So automatically this money gets into a channel, into a system which goes completely unrecognized. Now that would not be accepted in the Indian economy. Why? Because the multiple acquisitions that are being made by these self-styled professionals, including the healthcare professionals, would lead to a large sum of black money accumulation in the economy, where the tax evasion becomes a very big affair, and finally the government of India is getting affected by it. So what happens here is that what we exactly want is the money to be recognized, somewhere channelized, and it has to be brought to light, which means every citizen of this country must understand and make it a mandatory duty that he goes ahead and pays tax for whatever he earns. And that's how we will be able to see a brighter economic spot in this world. Followed by a study conducted by IMF about a decade and a half before. They were able to see that regardless to the size of the underground money, India holds the first rank, followed by United States and Canada, which are second and third, obviously. Now, this is something not to be really proud about, though we are first rank in many other factors also. But when you talk about this country saying that India holds the topmost position in terms of hiding money, and people say that, when I look at the numbers altogether, 1,000 crores during the 1965 and 66, 1,469 and 70, and just when we start going down the rake, we see that it's 2,000, 3,000, probably lakhs of crores that we are talking about. These are big numbers for us to digest and even to just look into it. But where is this money? Where is this money exactly located? Who is holding this money? What is the authorization behind this money? Is this money going to be used for some legal purpose? We do not know. We only have committees and reports and the CBIs and investigation agencies who come back and say that, yes, there's a whole lot of black money that is being kept in the economy, no doubt about it. But where is the money? What is the estimation behind it? How are we going to do this? We do not have any clue about it. So that's why I would say that black money is definitely a dangerous space to the Indian economy. Followed by, over the past 50 years, the government various times has announced several schemes of bringing back the black money. And of course, all of us know about the demonetization phase that India underwent, abolishing the 500 and the 1,000 rupee notes, trying to make system more transparent, trying to pull out all the black money as far as possible. I would say that this is not a complete success. At the same time, I would not say that it's a failure. I would say that's the first step taken by Government of India, trying to make the system more transparent, trying to make the system more adaptive, responsive enough, and some point of time we are trying to make it even more open enough so that we are able to get that stringent line of action and the black money can be recovered in the long run. Now, some scholars have maintained that all these measures have touched only the tip of the iceberg. That means you've only been able to fetch about 5,000 crores, which is just a peanut of the entire lot that we have been talking about. And there's a lot amount of black money yet to be recovered from the Swiss banks, from all those specified banks of this world, which the list is endless. So probably we need to work out on a systematic way in terms of bringing the money back. Will this exercise happen? Will this exercise continue? Will we be able to see light at the end of the tunnel? Of course, we need to wait and watch. But nevertheless, our efforts in terms of recovering the black money will continue. And that's a reason the introduction of digital currency in India is definitely going to be a big positive step in terms of making the transactions even more transparent as far as possible. Now, until this problem is tackled and the menace of black money continues, what happens is that the lot of money that is blocked in the real estate sector, in the healthcare sector, in the education sector, or probably in the chemical, in the banking sector, all these sectors will create a voluntary choking problem to the economy because the money gets completely blocked. And any kind of isolated attempts trying to bring back this black money would not work. We need a collective effort. That is the contribution of both private and the public sector coming forward in terms of eradicating black money from all sectors, reinforcing all kind of measures, and probably we need to make a commitment to ourselves for the betterment of society, because we feel that we are morally responsible for creating this situation. Our generation that's going to see the next bright India needs to understand that equality is the first step of making the economy even more responsible, even more better, and that would be the first step that the future India would like to see. So as a responsible citizens, we need to make a collective effort to bring the black money out and make it evenly distributed among all the citizens. With this, I come to the end of today's session. I hope and believe that all the facts spoken through this session would be of a great benefit to you, both in terms of practical as well as in terms of theoretical walk of life. In the upcoming sessions, we would be discussing about the budget deficits and various factors of economy. But until then, stay tuned, stay blessed, and stay enlightened forever. Thank you once again for joining me today on this wonderful session.